Welcome everyone to this Weber County Commission meeting on
Recording in
February
progress.
4th. I'm Commissioner Sharon Bolos. I have Commissioner Jim Harvey and Commissioner Gage Furrer with me. Item B on our agenda is our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Duncan Olson, and then our invocation will be given by Ms. Stephanie Russell.
Please rise and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in prayer. Dearest Creators, we come before Thee this day. We are so grateful for the opportunity to gather as citizens and as community leaders and stakeholders in this wonderful county of Weber. We pray today with our hearts full and open and of gratitude for all that we have been given in this county, for the abundance that we have, for the wonderful opportunities of community and of sociality and of prosperity. We ask that in this coming year that we might be able to be blessed with all of the natural resources that we stand in need of, particularly water and those things that bring sustainability to our environment and to our lives. We are so grateful for the opportunity to be a part of the leadership here in this county, and we pray today that we might have the spirit of camaraderie and collaboration bestowed upon us as we work through the issues of the county, and we strive to provide support and service to the residents and to all those that encounter our county as a whole. We are so grateful once again for all that we are blessed with and for the many, many opportunities we have to be a part of this wonderful community. And we pray for these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. Ms. Russell, item D is Commissioner comments. Commissioners.
None for me, thank you.
Okay, then we will move to our Stall of Fame. And I'm going to turn the time back over to Ms. Stephanie Russell for this presentation.
Commissioners, I am delighted to be able to nominate my employee, Ashlyn Tuckett, for this month's Stall of Fame. Ashlyn is very new to the county, but has proven her worth in a very short period of time. My department is very interesting. It touches a lot of the different elements, not just in the county, but outside the county as it relates to development, legislative opportunities that we have with the county. As you know, our lovely lobbyist, Gage Furrer, and I have spent quite a bit of time preparing for this legislative session, and it has been through the hard-earned efforts of Ashlyn that we have been able to approach the legislative session with a sense of organization and having informed information at our fingertips. Ashlyn came in July and was literally thrown into the fire pit of development and legislative affairs, and she has just excelled at everything that she does. She does not drop the ball. She's usually 2 steps ahead of me. And it's just been a joy to have her in our department. And I think Gage would agree that it's been fantastic to have someone kind of working behind the scenes as we're down in the legislature. It's kind of a circus down there, and it's been great to have her organized and right on point with everything that we do. So I'd like to recommend her for the Employee Stall of Fame this month so that she doesn't have to walk from that far from the parking lot, and she gets to park up front during the coldest, what should have been the coldest month of the year, but is ending up not being. So I just wanted to say congratulations, and we're so grateful to have her in our department.
Ashlyn, you want to come up and get a photo? You're welcome to say something if you'd like.
Me too.
Keaton County.
Congrats.
Thank you. All right, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Congratulations. Thanks. Thanks, Gage. Appreciate it.
I think this is our second stall of fame in a row where they have such a short tenure. It goes to show that we know how to hire right.
Wasn't that the truth? Madam Chair, I would like to make a comment.
Please.
So I just need to second what Stephanie said. I spent last week a few hours down at the legislature with Ashlyn and Stephanie, and as you know, things move fast down there. And I learned a long time ago, you have to move fast or you get left behind. Ashlyn was right there. I said, this is who you need to contact. This is when we need to meet. This is a subject. Boy, she was on top of it straight through. For a first-timer, I'll tell you, it's very impressive. Not very many people could do what she did in that short period of time, and very effective for Weber County.
That's great. Thanks, Ashlyn. Okay, item F on our agenda, consent items. Number 1, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $736,141.93. Number 2, request for approval of warrants numbers 104295 through 104338 and numbers 489066 through 489177 in the amount of $1,905,970.48. Number 3, a summary of warrants and purchase orders. We'll go to Mr. Ricky Hatch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We issued 30 purchase orders this week for $736,000. 64% of that amount, or $470,000, was for our fleet department, who purchased 25 vehicles for the sheriff and for roads. 23%, or $171,000, was for the paramedic fund for 2 replacement vehicles as well as a chest compression system. As far as checks, we issued 156 warrants this week for $1.9 million. A fourth of that amount, $480,000, was for the jail, for health care, as well as new food and utilities. 18%, or $350,000, is for the fleet to purchase vehicles for the sheriff for weed control and roads. 12%, or $230,000, is our monthly contribution to the Weber Human Services Organization. 10%, or $185,000, is for roads and highways, and that was road construction supplies as well as snowplow blades. 9%, or $179,000, was an ARPA grant distribution to Wolf Creek Water and Sewer Improvement District. 6%, or $108,000, is for the health department to purchase vaccines. Our top 5 highest paid vendors this week are Vital Core Health Strategies, $370,000, YF3X for $338,000, Weber Human Services for $230,000, Wolf Creek Water and Sewer Improvement District, $179,000, and Wheeler Machinery Company for $116,000.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Hatch?
None for me.
Thank you. Number 4, request for approval of minutes for the meeting held on January 28th, 2025. Number 5, request from Parks and Recreation for approval to surplus a Cub Cadet 7360 SS tractor. Number 6, request from Library for approval to surplus equipment. Number 7, request for approval of retirement agreement by and between Weber County and D.D. Kimber. Number 8, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Rocky Mountain Barrel Racing Association for the RMBRA Diamond Classic Barrel Series 2025 to be held at the Golden Spike Event Center. Number 9, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Rocky Mountain Barrel Racing Association for the RMBRA 2024 Awards Banquet to be held at the Golden Spike Event Center. Number 10, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Spikers Rodeo Team to hold the 2025 Spikers High School Rodeo at the Golden Spike Event Center. Number 11, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Miss Rodeo Ogden Queen Committee to hold the Miss Rodeo Utah competition at the Golden Spike Event Center. Number 12, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Broken Heart Rodeo Company, LLC, to hold the Cowboy Clash Boxing Smoker event at the Golden Spike Event Center. Number 13, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and PBS Utah to hold the PBS Utah film event at Perry's Egyptian Theater. Number 14, request for approval of Deputy Sheriff Basic Training Agreements by and between Weber County and the following individuals: Kyle Willis, Braden Apple, Talmadge Smith, Gavin Merrill, and Bodie Bocut. Questions or comments?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve those consent items as listed on our agenda today, F through and including 1 through 14.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item G, action items. Number 1, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Broken Heart Rodeo Company, LLC, to hold the Intermountain Icebreaker High School Invitational Rodeo at the Golden Spike Event Center. Mr. Duncan Olson, welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
As you can see from the consent items, we are plenty busy out at the fairgrounds. Hard to believe that we're already to the point where we are presenting the Icebreaker contract. The Icebreaker High School Rodeo is one of the best events we do all year. We opened up our RV spots and they sold out within a couple days. The stalls are filling up and we're excited to do this contract with Broken Heart and put on another Icebreaker Rodeo.
Any questions?
No, this again is a contract or a rodeo that was built out of the ground. We started it, started producing it, and it's ours to keep and stay, and it's turned out to be, I know it's the biggest high school rodeo in the state, even bigger than the state championship. It's one of the biggest high school rodeos in the western United States, isn't it, Mr. Olson?
Yeah, during COVID, I think we took over the title of being the biggest because we were able to bring in cowboys from all over the country. But last year we had about 18 states represented. This year we already have kids signed up from Alaska and Canada and all throughout the West. So we're excited.
I think it's wonderful, Madam Chair, if I can just continue. I think it's wonderful. Sometimes high school rodeo is a sport that doesn't always get a lot of billing, but it is part of our Western heritage. And for us to have a facility that not only welcomes but perpetuates our heritage is fantastic for the people of Weber County, and obviously for the people around all the states and even Canada participating. So it just shows that we're helping youth in a lot of the areas of the country still maintain those values that the Western way of life provides. And so thank you for doing this, Mr. Olson. I know the reason you're bringing this here is because there's a few things that aren't quite in line with our ordinance, but we get a lot of value from those students with stall cleanings and things like that that most of the other contracts don't do. So
Right.
provides a work ethic with it as well.
You look at the NFR and there was real prominent representation from the state of Utah, and most of those athletes came through the Icebreaker or through the Golden Spike through the Spikers program at one time or another, and so super excited to keep this tradition alive.
I think it's great that
great.
the best cowboys in the world, just especially per capita, come from Utah because of the strong and rich heritage that we use through the Utah Youth Rodeo Association. Those people that put that on, certainly through the junior livestock programs and that high school, junior high and high school programs that they have, and even college programs we have in Utah.
For sure.
That's fantastic. Madam Chair, I'm done with my questions, and when you're ready, I'll entertain it.
I'm ready.
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract as presented by Mr. Olson today.
And I'll second that with the question and a possible comment. Question is, what are the dates?
Ooh, you'd ask that. It is the first part of March.
Okay.
So this year we're looking the 3rd through the 8th that week.
Great. Okay. And Commissioner Harvey actually took me on a little site visit to your facility last week. We did kind of an on-site inspection, and I was very impressed with the cleanliness. We went in the back and saw the people down there out there with their exercising their horses. That's just a very used, needed facility for Weber County, and I kudos to you and Commissioner Harvey for his work there in the past. That's not an easy facility to keep up. I mean, to see all the moving parts out there and the users, I've got to hand it to you. It was very impressive. And please pass that on to your people, because I know that they work very hard to make sure that's a showcase for people coming in and using it. And that's kind of what our hot spot is. Let's make sure we're customer user friendly, and it starts off with cleanliness and the ability to to really go into that asset, into that venue, and perform like they want to perform. So congratulations.
Absolutely. Yeah. Within the last couple of weeks, we've sold RVs, we've had a circus, we've had cheerleaders,
Yeah.
chariot racing, rodeo, all the above. And so lots of fun going on.
Yeah, good. Great job.
Thank you.
Great job.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Number 2, request for approval of an agreement by and between Weber County and Ogden Contemporary Arts for curation and other artwork-related services at the Weber Morgan Children's Justice Center. Rod Layton, Scott Mendoza. I don't see Lauren here.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Morning.
Quick story before I get started on this. When he's talking about cowboys, when we were going around to all the cities and towns asking for money for this project, my coworker, Patricia, I said, I'm sending you to Mary at Slaterville. You go talk to them about getting money. And she said, well, why would I go there? And I'm like, look at their pictures. It's a bunch of cowboys. They're going to give you money. And she walked in 10 minutes later, she's back out. Yep, we got money. I'm like, yeah, that's what cowboys will do. So that just reminded me of that. Commissioners, if I could just go over a few things here before we get to the actual approval of the contract. Don't let me forget to ask for that. This is a big deal. This is some interesting things have happened with this and things that I didn't see. As you know, this has been going on for 4 years. We've done a lot of work on this project, this team of people. A lot of people say, well, Rod, this is your deal. I'm like, no, this isn't my deal. I said, there's 100 people involved in this. But just to segue into this, I get calls often. It's kind of interesting, but I will get calls from kids that I've interviewed years and years ago. And I got one last night. And it started about 7 o'clock at night and ended about 9:30. So we talked for 2.5 hours. And she said to me, she was 9 when we interviewed her, and she said, the interesting thing, I drove up past the building the other day and it looks so different to me. It's so much bigger. And this is the old building on 2408 Van Buren. And I said, well, her name's Jill. I won't disclose the rest of that, but I said, Jill, that's not the building that you went to. And she said, oh, it's not? And I said, no, go a block to the west to Jackson. There's a little building there. That was our second CJC. And so I said, tell me about that. And she said, I remember going in and I remember the room in the back. She was able to describe to me, after all these years, the layout of the building a little bit. And I said, what else? And she said, the wallpaper. Do you remember the colors of the wallpaper? And I said, did we have wallpaper? I had no idea what she was talking about, but it was interesting what she recalled. I said, what about the interview? How good was the interview? How good was this and that? She didn't remember any of that. She knew some things that had been disclosed in there, but she said, I remember the colors in the room. And I thought, wow, that's interesting since we're talking about this topic. That was the first story. I also talked with the first victims that we took to the CJC on just under the viaduct. That was 1991. And I talked with her for a couple of hours one day, and she would have been 10. I said, what do you remember about that building? And I was thinking, because we were trying to get some ideas on how to design this and everything else. And she said, I remember the blue roof. So she said it's really blue. And I remember going in. I remember the tables and chairs that were little. And I remember coloring a picture. I said, what about those great detectives that interviewed you? What about that case we put together? And there was 30 kids in this case. And she didn't remember any of that. She remembered the colors of the room, and she remembered coloring, and that they gave her some stuff. She did remember, I did get a little stuffed animal. So, it was a lesson to me that what we think they're watching and what they're perceiving when they come through these is a little bit different. So as we designed this building, we did look at that. I mean, we spent a lot of time, Shane Sanders and I, we sit down for many, many, many hours trying to talk about light, the walls, the colors, all of that. But this is so outside of my wheelhouse here on what that should look like. And so the artwork that would be going into that building was never something that was discussed. Even though I knew it was important, I have to admit, one day I'm like, we should have something on the walls. And so I went to a local furniture store and I spent 2 hours walking around looking at pictures. And Commissioner Farrar, you're not going to like this, but one of my favorites was a picture of a buffalo with snow all over it standing out in the field. But the buffalo picture did not get approved. So I'm like, that's a cool picture of this buffalo. And there was some other ones, the hippopotamus with the bird on its head and things like that. I'm like, that's cool. So I finally took my forensic interviewers back out there and I'm like, look, you are getting this and understanding this. And so I'm like, I'll just follow your lead. And so we started to look at some of that. Of course, as you all know, we had run into some problems with the soil. And so we had gone over $250,000. And I knew that our budget, our finances were going to be a little strained at that point. One thing I've learned from all of this is what's the first thing you do is you cut out things like artwork, because you're now down to little money. And we were going to cut out the most important thing of the center. We were going to cut out what those kids had actually seen and what they remembered after 25 years. I mean, that's incredible to me. Those are the things we should have been focusing on. And thank goodness Scott brought me back a little bit to really what's important here. And we knew that as a child or a kid walks into that CJC, there's certain things that we're going to reduce that trauma really fast. We're going to try to do that. Colors, the layout. That's why we love that site. It's quiet, it's peaceful, there's parking. So all those things are really important. Fish tank. The fish tank, as you walk in, is not just to add to that. Kids will be attracted to a fish tank very quickly and they'll go look at the fish. And so it just reduces that trauma really fast. And so as we started looking at this, we realized that the artwork, what the colors were, what the pictures were on those walls, was going to be very beneficial in reducing the trauma. As we've talked about before, what we're trying to do is we're trying to have those kids come in, reduce the trauma from the get-go, which is through what they see and feel, then through that interview so they can disclose and have that off of their shoulders, and then oftentimes a medical exam. So kids want to tell their secrets, they want to tell what happened, and they want to know their bodies are okay. So those two things are critical, and we will do that, and we'll have mental health resources as well. But this artwork part of it is going to be critical to reduce, the trauma. So as Scott was so excited about this, he said, we have to go, talk to this Vanessa over at OCA. And so we made an appointment, and we went over and we met Vanessa Tascanoli. I hope I say that right, Vanessa. You'll have to fix your name. And I got the same thing when I walked in and met Vanessa. I saw her vision. I saw what she was talking about, and she knew. And I'm going to call her up here in just a second and let her talk about that side of it. But, it came in at a substantial amount of money on getting this done. But as we looked at it, we're like, I'd cut out something else. I mean, I was ready to say, let's take something else out of the building, or we'll go raise the money. We met with a couple of other people in our offices. So we met with Lauren and Chris Crockett over at the Civil Division of the County Attorney's Office. Same thing happened. When we sit down and talk to those two, it's like, this is big. Commissioner Farrar, it's like I don't know if you remember this, the day that I come and talk to you about, I need somebody from the county to come out and dig a hole. Just dig a hole. Just bring out your excavator. Got Casey Day to come out. Casey gets out there. Casey starts to dig it, gets off of his excavator, and then he comes over and he goes, so what are we doing here? And I explained it to him, and he said, Rod, you've got to go back to Commissioner Farrar, and you've got to get me assigned to this project full-time for the next 2 years. I said, I would do that, Casey, if I could, but so that same thing, Casey's like, I need to be involved in this project. I need to be a part of this. And so you see that with people as you go through. You know, you often hear, you hear that government doesn't work sometimes and that government doesn't care. That's nonsense. I have not seen that. I've seen 100%, cooperation, excitement, enthusiasm about this project and what we're trying to accomplish, starting with you three, with the commissioners. It's just one of those things that the community rallies behind, and government does work. I mean, this has gone forward with very few flaws, and the things that the challenges have been stuff we can't control, such as the soil and things like that, but nothing else. So I think it's great to understand that the government does care, and government does step in and solve problems like this. So I appreciate that part of it. The next issue is the money, obviously. Been to our local nonprofit, our friends of the Weber Morgan Children's Justice Center. I have three of them. Was going to have three of them are sitting here. Ruby and Jorge and Kobe. Kobe's our bean counter, I call it, the treasurer of the. So we have gone to them 2 or 3 times about this. We're selling the building up there. All that money is going to go to the new building. I've gone to them multiple times for other amounts of money. And then I'm like, I've got to go back and ask for $125,000 from this board, and ask them for more. So we presented this to our board, to the Friends board, and the same reaction. This has to happen. This is extremely important that we bring in the right stuff, that we bring in the right pictures, we bring in the right artwork. With Vanessa, she understands that. She understands what needs to happen here. She's even agreed to donate some of her own stuff for free, just as a donation. So she's also caught that vision of what this is all about. I can't say enough good about our Friends board. This is interesting. I got another call yesterday morning from a college student, and she said, I'm joined a nonprofit and they want me to do a gala. And I'm like, so you and who else? Well, just me. And I'm like, run away from that as fast as you can. It was part of her college. I said, these galas that we've been putting on for 25 years, 30 years, extreme amount of work, and this board has done that for years and years to raise money that we could be where we're at today. I said, you have no idea how much work goes into one of these galas. And so I said, if I was you, I'd just find another project for your thesis statement or whatever she was doing. I said, they're a tremendous amount of work. And so the Friends have stuck with us through this whole thing, and we couldn't have done it without them. I talk too much. I'm always accused of, like, you talk too much, but I do get passionate about this. I do much better with 5-year-olds than I do with adults. So I'm like, just let me get back to my 5-year-olds and we'll turn the experts over to some of this. So I would like Vanessa to come up. I want Vanessa to talk a little bit about what she does. This is not her first rodeo, as we talk about rodeos. She knows and understands artwork for kids, and she's done it before. So if I could just turn a little bit of time over to Vanessa, and then we'll see if we want to talk about the building. Scott, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Welcome, Vanessa. Vanessa Castagnoli is the Executive Director, correct?
That's correct.
Ogden Contemporary Arts. I'd love to hear your side. I've heard Scott's side of the story, which is phenomenal, so I'm happy to hear hear
Thank
your
you.
side.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. You know, when Scott came to me with this project, and I got a tour of the building, I mean, I was in tears. I mean, this means so much. Ogden Contemporary Arts, you know, we're obviously focused on contemporary art and bringing in art into our space for our community. But what's most important is how we're engaging with our community. We have experience with our Artist Factory program. We work with the YCC. We did a project very similar to this for the YCC in their new building. We also do art workshops over at Youth Impact, Boys and Girls Club, Utah Neighborhood Connection. We get field trips coming in all the time. Seeing these kids come in, we try to make a space that is inclusive and not intimidating, because you go to a city like New York and you walk into one of these galleries, it's intimidating. That's not Ogden Contemporary Arts. We're here to be that bridge into contemporary art because it's talking about hard subjects and it's making it okay to talk about. It's making it okay to feel those feelings. This project and having this impact, you know, Rod was just talking about Jill, who we spoke to, and what she remembered was the wallpaper. To think that, you know, 10, 20 years, someone who has gone through what these children are going through, remember the work that we did at this facility, that's why I do what I do. I want to have that impact. I'm going to get emotional, so I'll steer away from that. But yes, so we are going to fill this space with super meaningful work. As soon as you walk through these front doors, there is going to be a mural there. Not just any mural, but a mural that kids and staff can actually participate in creating before this building is open. We want those that are going to experience this or have experienced this to be part of the work that goes in there. So we're going to bring in a selection committee to help make these decisions. I don't know best in this situation when it comes to how these kids are going to feel when they walk into the space, but people like Jill or the staff members at the CJC, they know. They know how these children are going to react. So we want to involve them in this curation process. We're also going to, yes, we're going to put in a whole lot of work making the space beautiful, but we're not walking away. We're going to continue to provide art workshops for the staff, for the parents, and for the children, because we don't want to just do a project and walk away. We've been doing some work with the juvenile justice system through the state of Utah, and that's the problem. People go into these spaces, they'll do a project, and then they just walk away, and these children feel abandoned. That's not what we're doing. We're here to stay. We're going to put our money where our mouth is, and we're going to continue to put in the work to make sure that, if the kids are getting what they need. They're getting access to art, because art really can heal. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
None for me.
I've got just a comment, if I may,
Please.
Madam Chair. It just, I grew up with a father who did the artwork, original renditions for the space shuttle boosters.
Oh, yeah.
And came from the art world, and because of what he did, and so I don't understand it at all. But I sure respect and appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here to make it okay for you to ask questions. If someone walks into our space and they don't understand it, ask us. We'll help you. We understand that not everyone went to art school and has an art history degree. We're here to be that bridge. I do want to show you briefly, if it's okay. Where is Heath's project here?
You can minimize that.
This is one project. As soon as, they came to me with this project, I started reaching out to artists immediately because it's a big project. It's going to take a lot of time. And local artist Heath Sato was really excited. He's someone who's contributed to the CJC in the past, and I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but he has public art pieces all over the country. Not many here in Ogden, because most of the time people can't afford it because it's really expensive work. But he put together this beautiful sculpture piece for the courtyard called Humming, and it's all about a dandelion and the resilience of a dandelion. So I'll just wait for a second. And so these are beautiful sculptures that if you actually touch them, over time you leave your mark because of the type of patina that he uses on these sculptures. They're stainless steel, but the bottom part has this patina on it that they eventually will rub with your touch, which I think is a really cool component of the work. Okay, here we go. So I'm just gonna show you the rendering. And so Heath has already got this project ready to go. All he needs to do is press the go button on the materials, because it does take some time. So as soon as we get that go button, I'm gonna go ahead and tell him he can proceed, which is exciting. That's it. That's all I got.
I love that rendering. When I saw that the first time, I thought it was just so appropriate.
Yeah.
Wow, I don't know what else to say. It's very meaningful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We also have, and I'm going to invite Scott to come up. Scott, if you don't mind, and introduce the board members who are here. We have Jorge Galvez, Colby Dustin, and Ruby Ricassi. And tell us a little bit about the board and their...
You know what, to be honest, I'm working on a lot of the nuts and bolts with Rod. Rod is probably much more appropriate to talk about the board. He's got a wonderful relationship with all of them. I just recently had the absolute pleasure to meet them. And I was a part of a meeting where I got to watch Chris Crockett and Lauren and Rod present. It was amazing. One of the very best meetings I've ever been to. So Rod, if you don't mind, I'd turn the time back over to Rod to introduce the board members.
And Rod did mention the board, but that's what I wanted to hear you say, Scott. There was a presentation that was given to the board by Chris Crockett and Lauren Thomas and Rod that was very meaningful and impactful to them. So I don't know if any of you would like to say anything, but you're welcome to.
Sure. Who is the guy?
Hi, I'm Colby Dustin. My day job's over at Bank of Utah, but for the last 13 years, my part-time job's been with the Friends Board. For the CJC, we raise money to support the facility and the program. I'd just like to thank the commissioners. This is a public-private partnership that works really well. This building is a win-win-win for us, for the county, for the center. There's a lot of passion with our board. It's approximately 10 people. We fluctuate a little bit who work really hard to support the mission of the board, or the mission of the center. We've spent a lot of money taking care of an old building, and we look forward to being able to spend a lot of money taking care of a program and spending more money on the kids. As been explained, we saw a presentation a little more than a week ago, some of the artwork, and the board really felt passionate about this. This has to happen. It's a big ask. It's a lot of money for our board to come up with, but there was really no hesitation at all that we needed to make sure that this happens, to be able to finish off this new center, which really is state of the art. So thank you to the commissioners for having us today and for your partnership in making this happen. And like I said, we look forward to continued partnership to be able to provide money to support the program and the kids as they go through this healing process.
Thank you, Mr. Dustin. I appreciate that. Rod, if you don't mind, would you explain the contract?
Yes, let me clarify a couple of things too before we get there. So this is a very big transition that's about to happen. As you know, the Friends of the Weber Morgan Children's Justice Center has always owned the building. So we've, from the 3 centers that we've had over the years since '91, they've owned those buildings. So this is now, we're transitioning over to where Weber County will own the building, and the Friends will be more involved in the program side of it. I'm really excited about that side of it. they earn lots of money, but if that money could be shifted to a different direction instead of sidewalks, rain gutters, and paint, and that could go towards the program instead. This is done a little bit across the state of Utah, but most of the centers have their Friends Board still owns their buildings, and they're so involved in that. And so we're really excited that the money and the funds and they get to be more involved in the program side. So this is a big deal for Weber County to accept this and to switch over and to make this happen. I just want to make one little comment about something Vanessa said. She said, I will be providing artwork for the building. We'll also be providing some art classes for the kids. That's done in a few centers where, kids come back that have been victimized in some way, and there's programs like that to help with that healing process. And we found that I checked into it, believe me, like, what's Vanessa talking about here? And it is a very good way to reduce that trauma. She also talked about staff. And so when I questioned her on that a little bit, I go, what are you talking about, staff? So one of the challenges of the director is to keep the staff healthy. And this is an area where we're doing 4 or 5 interviews every day. And so my staff is seeing this stuff happen daily. So what do I do about that? What does the director do about that? You've got to keep your staff healthy. Right now, what they do is they go out and they walk around the building. So I'll see them out there going, oh, bad interview today, because I can see them walking in the building just round and round. So, if there's something that we can put into place to keep them healthy that way, then we're going to be better off that way. I need to send them home to their own families and not have everything that we see cause issues with their own families. If we do that, we haven't succeeded. So I'm excited about that part. When I presented it, I got about half of them like, what? You want us to go paint a picture? And I'm like, yep. And half of them like, yeah, I want to go paint a picture. So we'll see. But I'm excited about that side of it. And there's some other things we're putting in place that way. So to the contract, Commissioner, so what we're doing is we're just looking for so one of the things that we decided is that it would be much better if the contract was between Weber County and OCA. We want to, the Friends are going to provide those funds, but it would be very, very difficult for them to manage the program, the artwork itself. That wouldn't work. This is changing all the time. Where the pieces go, how they go, all of that. So we decided to be much better if the Weber County entered into the contract with OCA on how this happens. Friends would provide the funding, but it makes no sense that they would manage that contract. So that's what this is about. We just are looking for approval to approve that contract between Weber County and OCA. And Vanessa and her group, we will work with them on managing the artwork side of it. But the cost will be to the Friends Board at this point.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
Just a quick question, and it's to Mr. Hatch, actually.
Good.
There's it's more for the public benefit, because I hope I know the answer. But when the Friends money comes into the county, it's held in a special fund, so it's, for lack of a better term, not convoluted, not mixed up with the rest of the county stuff. So all of it goes to the purpose by which it was donated.
Yes, that's correct. We're required, and best practice as well, requires that we segregate those funds so that, first off, any interest earned on those funds belongs exclusively to the receiver of those funds, and that there's no cross-contamination or that those funds aren't tagged or used for something else.
Just wanted to have everybody who may listen or listening now or may listen later know that. So that's another kudos for how Weber County uses best practices to protect those interests of people who would be philanthropic towards things like this. And so that's wonderful. And that hopefully would encourage others, that statement, to participate in things like this moving forward. Therein lies my point, is to perpetuate this. Okay, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, so I do. This is a great day. I remember 3 years ago, maybe 3.5 years ago, when you came to us and said, we need this new facility and we're short about $5 million. And my answer to you, my question to you is, where's the money coming from? And how much is coming from the state? How much is coming from the Friends? And you said, well, we're a little bit short that way. How about if the county did the whole thing? And, you know, I'm a finance guy at heart. And I said, well, obviously this is a county issue, but we happened to have a little fund called ARPA funding at that time that everybody obviously had a good proposal for use of those funds. But we made the decision as a commission at that time that we felt this was very important to the future and the kids of Weber County, so we supported it. Probably the biggest ARPA fund on any one project within the county, within the city, that actually went forward. But we also ask you to go out to the cities and say, look, this is not just a county problem. This is not an Ogden City problem. Every city, unfortunately, probably has a kid or two that go through this facility. You did that, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, every city actually made a contribution.
Yep.
No matter how small. Obviously, Weber County was the primary lead to that.
Yes.
But I think that's, to see this come to an end, and I've been fairly actively involved with this because of Scott and Sean keeping me involved. And as I've gone through the building on several occasions now, I think the citizens of Weber County, this was a good investment for the future. And when Scott came to me 2 months ago, or maybe 2.5 months ago, and said, we've got a proposal for art. And I said, art, okay, so how come the dollar amount is that? He said, well, it's pretty important. And then I went through the building with you and looked at the walls and said, yeah, this makes sense. And then I recalled my legislative days when I approved a lot of buildings for the state of Utah, and in those approval, there was always a 3 to 5% set aside for art. That was a requirement. And I said, well, maybe the county should look at that same concept so we don't get to the end of the row and then have somebody say, look, you guys really need to think about artwork. Let's think about that up front. So I think that's very important. And I couldn't agree more that a place that deserves art and deserves appropriate art, I'm not the one to pick it out. You weren't either, Ron. Thank goodness.
Out of Buffalo.
But people like Vanessa can and will be better because of that. So anyway, I think you're to be congratulated. The Friends have done a great job. And I agree, this has changed dynamics a little bit because Weber County is now the owner of that, will be for the future. But in my mind, that's the proper place to have it. We've got staff that will remain in place to make sure that the future for that building is bright, that the funds that are necessary to keep it up. Because now you have a building, one thing we learn is that's when the costs start. Make sure that building's well maintained. And most importantly for that building, it has to have a good customer-friendly, user-friendly feel to it, which I think you've been able to accomplish.
Yeah, especially with this. And I did, when this all came about, I have a lot of faith and trust in my architect, Shane Saunders. Anytime anything comes up, I always call Shane and go, what do you think? I want your opinion on this. And I did that. And we were actually in the building walking around looking, and I pulled him aside, and I'm like, Shane, tell me what you think about this artwork idea. And he said, I was kind of expecting him to say, well, it's pretty cool or something. He said, Rod, it will take your building from here to way up here. And I'm like, why didn't, And so he just said, I knew that finances were an issue, but he said to bring that artwork in is going to just make this building shine. It's going to change the whole feeling. Everything we were trying to do with the light and the flow and the paint and the wall colors, he said, this will bring it to the next level, no question. And that's when I'm like, I was sold on it. So, we did our due diligence on it. Scott did. Scott's the guy that pushed it through. I'm like just behind him going, go get it, Scott. This guy doesn't even wear socks. How did he know about artwork? You got him on today? Good job. But he caught the vision way before I did. And he's really, I am so appreciative of Scott and what he did and pushed this through. It will change the building.
I agree. And I would say this, Madam Chair, I think it's a small investment to really make sure that we put a lot of money into it. This is a small investment to really put the finishing touches on something that's so important to this county. And I'm happy to make a motion whenever you're ready.
Please, yeah.
So I'd make a motion that we approve the agreement by and between Weber County and Ogden Contemporary Arts for curation and other artwork-related services at the Weber Morgan Children's Justice Center as presented by Scott Mendoza, Rod Layton, Vanessa this morning.
I'll second that with the profound gratitude with that. Thank you.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you all.
Thank you,
This
Commissioner.
might be the most meaningful action I've taken to date. I'm so thrilled. Thank you so much. Okay, item H on our agenda.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.